Fantasy sports. Where do we begin? Millions are drawn to fantasy sports betting sites from all across the United States. Though they can be a very entertaining pastime, we must be honest about one thing. Most people wouldn't play fantasy sports if they genuinely believed that they had no chance of winning. Though the odds of winning for some may seem astronomical, it can be done. Perhaps not consistently, but as the saying goes, the sun will even shine on a dog's behind some days. However, winning in fantasy sports is not as clear-cut and dry as picking a team and leaving with your winnings. The state and federal governments will certainly be taking their fair share, so keep a record and do not forget to report your earnings. That being said, there will be nothing to report if you don't win, which happens far more often than not. In order to have a legitimate chance at winning any fantasy sports contest, you're going to need to score on average at least 300 points or higher. The truth is, even a score of 300 points can be average and only worth meager earnings. But that is generally the cutoff point for all the players in the contest to earn even a free ticket to play again. Here, I will try to teach you how to score at least 300 points or higher in fantasy sports contests. This is the Brooklyn Cowboys Guide to Scoring 300 Points in Fantasy Sports. Let's get started. First, there are only two main sports that I'm experienced in to any large degree, and they are fantasy football and fantasy basketball. It just so happens to be the case that both are scored in a very similar manner. A 300-point score in either sport can potentially grant some winnings. However, scoring 300 points will likely take you a bit further in fantasy basketball than it will in fantasy football. Now, let's start building our team.
Feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy.
In fantasy football as well as basketball, your first pick is your team leader. He's the floor general that the team is lost without. So this pick is truly significant. However, keep in mind that no one pick should ever come before the team. This pick is the quarterback in football and the point guard in basketball. These picks are often some of the highest priced players on the team because they are usually good for a great deal of effort and points. Quarterbacks and guards can often be priced as steep as $10,000 on a $50,000 budget. As important as they are, it can be much more difficult to score big when purchasing the highest priced talent in any category. I prefer to leave my choice of quarterbacks and point guards until later. Generally, once I do get around to picking them, I try to keep a budget of around $7,000 for them. That is because the average contest has 8 positions to fill. 7 times 7,000 equals 49,000. A team budget of $50,000 minus 49,000 leaves $1,000 for our 8th and final position. That position will usually be for a team defense, which tends to cost around $1,500 to $3,000. The second picks I make are for my hardest working players. These are players who do all the little things that add up to high fantasy scores at their positions. In fantasy football, these are the running backs and wide receivers. In fantasy basketball, they are the shooting guards and forwards. These positions are crucial towards choosing a team that scores 300 points. Again, we want to stay in the realm of about $7,000 per pick. However, these are the unpredictable positions that will often allow you to find a valuable player at a steal price. Maybe they just got traded, or perhaps they're returning from an injury. Whatever the circumstances, these are often the positions that will win the game for you. As in the second picks, the third picks can also be just as vital to scoring those last few points to put you ahead of the rest of the competition and into the winner's circle. These positions are often overlooked, but don't be deceived. They can put the right team into the stratosphere as far as going above 300 points. In football, these positions are the tight end, the utility player, and the defense. In basketball, they are simply 2 utility players and a defense. Thus far, if you've been following my strategy, you've only been spending about $7,000 or less on each position. Every time a player costs less than $7,000, whatever is left over can be applied to future picks or used to upgrade previous picks. The same rules apply to your tight end or utility picks. Generally speaking, we want to find players with potential to score 40 points or more at each position. This is because 8 positions times 40 points each equal 320 potential game points. Of course, this varies from player to player and what their competition looks like from one week to the next. Any good player should have some idea of the competition that their players will be facing in their next games. It goes without saying that a very high-scoring defense should not be underrated. Some defenses can score as high as a regular player. On certain platforms like FanDuel, you also have to choose a kicker, which creates another variable which is not unlike a utility player. Once you've settled on all of the following 7 positions, then I would come back to my quarterback or point guard and use whatever money I was able to save to find someone who not only can potentially score 40, but who can also cover me in the event that some of my picks don't do so well. Some quarterbacks have scored 50 points and higher, while some point guards have scored as high as 70 points. So, at the end of the day, if you have a quarterback or point guard who scores 60 points, 35-point players at the other 6 positions, and a strong defense who scores 30 points, then my friend, you'd have a team that just put up 300 points. That's the way to score 300 points or more in fantasy sports. I hope this helps you fantasy sports enthusiasts out there. Until next time, good luck and may God bless you all. Peace be unto you.